So, good day everyone. I am Hinaliverador Brazil and I am going to report about Psychoanalytic Social Psychology by Karen Horney and Humanistic Psychoanalysis by Erich Fromm. So the objective of this report is to define psychoanalytical social psychology and humanistic psychoanalysis theories to gain insights into the relationship between social factors and human behavior, to apply psychoanalytic social psychology to real-life issues. The learning outcome is to understand how biologically determined unconscious forces drive human behavior, often rooted in early experiences of attempting to get our basic needs met, to understand how social and cultural factors influence human behavior, including the impact of societal norms, cultural expectations, and interpersonal relationships, applied to various fields such as counseling, social work, education, and organizational behavior, to better understand and address human behavior in different social contexts. Karen Horney's biography. Karen Horney was born in Elbeck, a small town near Hamburg, Germany, on September 15, 1885, youngest child of a 50-year-old father and his second wife, only daughter of Bernd Danielsen, a sea captain, and Clotilda von Rosellen Danielsen, a woman nearly 18 years younger than her husband. The old sea captain had been married earlier and had four other children, most of whom were adults by the time Horney was born, had older siblings, favored by her parents and felt unloved and unwanted. Karen Horney was married to a successful lawyer, Oscar Horney, produced three daughters, and the death of family members, including her mother in 1911 and her brother in 1923. In 5 years, she received her MD degree in 1915, and after 5 years of psychoanalysis and in her quest for the right man, she had several love affairs. In 1926, Karen and Oscar separated but did not officially divorce until 1938. In 1932, Horney left Germany for a position as associate director of the newly established Chicago Psychoanalytic Institute. During the 2 years she spent in Chicago, she met Margaret Mead, John Dollard, and many of the same scholars who had influenced Harry Stack Sullivan. During the next 10 years, Horney and Fromm were close friends, greatly influencing one another and eventually becoming lovers. After 2 years in Chicago, Horney moved to New York and she taught at the New School of Social Research. In Ways in Psychoanalysis in 1939, she abandoned the instinct theory and replacing more emphasis on ego and social influences. In 1952, Horney established the Karen Horney Clinic. In 1950, Horney published her most important work, The Neurosis and Human Growth. Horney died of cancer in December 4, 1952. She was 65 years old. Introduction to Psychoanalytical Social Theory. Horney and Freud compared. Karen Horney is a non-Freudian, so here is the comparison of Karen Horney and Freud's theory. Horney's theory is optimistic. One is centered on cultural forces that are amenable to change. According to Horney, man is ruled not by the pleasure principle alone, but by two guiding principles: safety and satisfaction. Neuroses are not the result of instincts, but rather of the person's attempt to find paths through a wilderness, which is the society full of unknown dangers. Freud's theory is a pessimistic concept of humanity based on innate instincts and the stagnation of personality. The impact of culture. People of this society are imbued with the cultural teachings of kinship and humility. These teachings, however, run contrary to another prevailing attitude, namely aggressiveness and the drive to win or be superior. Society's demands for success and achievements are nearly endless, so that even when people achieve their material ambitions, additional goals are continually being placed before them. People are free that they can accomplish anything through hard work and perseverance. In reality, however, the freedom of most people is greatly restricted by genetics, social position, and the competitiveness of others. The importance of childhood experiences. Childhood is the age where from which the vast majority of problems arise. A variety of traumatic events such as sexual abuse, beatings, open rejections, or pervasive neglect may leave their impressions on a child's future development. A difficult childhood is primarily responsible for neurotic needs. The totality of early relationships molds personality development. According to Karen Horney, people whose need for love and affection satisfied development's basic hostility towards their parents and eventually basic anxiety. Each person begins life with the potential for healthy development, but like other living organisms, people need favorable conditions for growth. Children need to experience both genuine love and healthy discipline. Such conditions provide them with feelings of safety and satisfaction and permit them to grow in accordance with their real self. If parents do not satisfy the child's needs for safety and satisfaction, the child develops feelings of basic hostility toward the parents. However, children seldom overtly express this hostility as rage. Instead, they repress their hostility toward their parents and have no awareness of it. Repressed hostility then leads to profound feelings of insecurity and a vague sense of apprehension. This condition is called basic anxiety, which Horney defined as a feeling of being isolated and helpless in a world conceived as potential hostile. According to Karen Horney, there is a four protective ways for basic anxiety. First is the affection. It is a strategy that does not always lead to authentic love. In their search for affection, some people may try to purchase love with self-effacing compliance, material goods, or sexual favors. Second is submissiveness. They submit themselves either to people or to institutions such as an organization or a religion. Perfect example for this is the trending news today, which is the culto of the allegedly culto in Surigao del Norte. Third is power, prestige, and position. Power is defined in a defense against the real or imagined hostility of others and takes the form of tendency to dominate others. Second is the prestige. It is defined as a protection against humiliation and is expressed as a tendency to humiliate others. Third is the position. Position is defined as an act as a buffer against this situation and poverty and manifests itself as a tendency to deprive others. Fourth is withdrawal. It is a developing independence from others or by becoming emotionally detached from them. They feel that they cannot be hurt by other people. There are 10 neurotic needs because of compulsive drive. Salient characteristics of all neurotic drives, whereas normal individuals are able to use a variety of defensive maneuvers in, in a somewhat useful way. Neurotics compulsively repeat the same strategy in an essentially unproductive manner. For each, remember that endorsing most or even all of these statements in the neurotic direction is no indications of emotional instability, but these items may give you a better understanding of what Horney meant by neurotic needs. First is the need for affection and approval. It is described for attempting indiscriminately to please others. It is quite uncomfortable with the hostility to others as well as the hostile feelings within themselves. Second is the need for a powerful partner. It is described as lack of confidence, over, 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 overvaluation of love, and dread of being alone or deserted. Horney's own life. Horney's, Horney's own life story reveals a strong need of such relationship during her adult life. Third is the Third is the neurotic need to restrict one's life within a narrow borders. It is described to strive to remain inconspicuous, to take second place and content with a very little. Some people downgrade themselves, their own abilities, and dread making demands of others. Fourth is the need for power. Power and affection, perhaps the greatest neurotic need. It is usually and manifests itself as the need to control and to avoid feelings of weakness and stupidity. Uh, Fifth neurotic need is to exploit others. It is described to evaluate others on the basis of how they can be used or exploited, but at the same time, they fear being exploited by others. And six is the need for prestige, trying to be first, to be important, or attract attention to themselves. Pag importante. Ang seven is for need for admiration. Their inflated self-esteem must be continually fed by admiration and approval for others. Ang eight is neurotic need for ambition. Strong drive to be the best. Competitive, they must defeat others in order to confirm superiority. The ninth neurotic need for is the ninth neurotic need is for independence. Need for independence. Strong need to move away from people, thereby proving that they can get along without others. 10 is 10 is the neurotic need for perfection. Striving relentlessly for perfection, neurotics receive proof of their self-esteem and personal superiority. They dread to make mistakes and having personal flaws They differently attempt to hide the weakness from others, their weakness from others. Three basic attitudes of neurotic trends. First is moving towards people. It refers to a neurotic need of protection to oneself against feelings of helplessness, helplessness, and to strive for affection and approval of others, or they seek a powerful partner who will take responsibility for their lives. Second is moving against people. It is described as aggressive people. They take they take for granted that everyone is hostile, move against others by appearing tough or ruthless. They need to be powerful to exploit others to receive recognition and prestige, to be admired and to achieve. Third is moving away from people. It is an expression of need for privacy, independence, and self-sufficiency. They dread competition, fearing a blow to their illusionary feelings of superiority. Instead, they prefer that their hidden greatness be recognized without any effort on their part. Neurotic trends, the normal defense and the neurotic defense. Normal defense is commonly, ay, neurotic defense is known as a spontaneous movement. Toward people, it is friendly and loving. Against people, survivor in a competitive society. Away from people, autonomous serene. Neurotic defense are compulsive movements. Toward people, complaint. Against people, aggressiveness. Away from people, detachment. Interpsychic conflict. The idealized self-image and self-hatred. Idealized self-image is an attempt to solve conflicts by painting a godlike picture of oneself. Self-hatred is an interrelated yet equally irrational and powerful tendency to despise one's real self. Aspects of the idealized self. Search for glory, neurotic claims, and neurotic pride. Neurotic search for glory is an Horney referred to this comprehensive drive toward actualizing the ideal self as the neurotic search for glory. In addition, self-idealization, the neurotic search for glory includes three other elements. The need for perfection, it is referred to drive to mold the whole personality into the idealized self. Second is the neurotic ambition. It is referred to the compulsive drive toward superiority. Third is the drive to vindictive triumph. Its chief aim is to put others to shame or defeat them through one's very success or to attain the power to conflict suffering on them, mostly of a humiliating kind. Second is the neurotic claims. Neurotic claims believe that something is wrong with the outside world. They proclaim that they are special and therefore entitled to be treated in accordance with their idealized self for themselves. Third is the neurotic pride. Neurotic pride is a false pride based on not on realistic view of the true self but on a spurious image of the idealized self. Based on an idealized image of self and is usually loudly proclaimed in order to protect and support a glorified view of oneself. There are 6 aspects of self-hatred. First is the relentless demands on oneself. It is exemplified by the tyranny of the should. If it is exemplified of the tyranny of the should. Second is the merciless self-accusation. It is constantly criticize themselves. They constantly criticize themselves. Third is the self-contempt. Self-contempt is belittling, disparaging, doubting, discrediting, and ridiculing oneself. Fourth is self-frustration. Self-frustration is frequently bound by taboos. Self-frustration is frequently is frequently bound by taboos against enjoyment. Example is this: I must not wear nice clothes because many people around the world are rags. Fifth is the self-torment. Self-torment main intention is to inflict harm or suffering on themselves. Example of this is masochistic, exaggerating the pain, starting a fight that they are sure to lose, or inviting physical abuse. Sixth is self-destruction. Self-destructions carried out in action or enacted only in the imagination. Example is overeating, abusing alcohol or drugs, working too hard and driving recklessly, and suicide. Feminine psychology. According to Horney, psychic differences between men and women are not the result of anatomy, but rather of cultural and societal expectations. Basic anxiety is at the core of men's need to overpower women and women's wish to humiliate men. Oedipus complex, it is defined as a neurotic need for love and aggression. Main goal is security, not sexual intercourse. Many women possess a masculine protest that is they have a pathological belief that men are superior to women. A wish for all those qualities or privileges which in our culture are regarded as masculine. Psychotherapy. Pre-association and dream analysis. The goal of this is to facilitate behavior toward self-realization. Let us proceed to our second theory, which is the humanistic psychoanalysis from Erich Fromm. Overview of this theory is it emphasizes the influence of socio-biological factors, history, economics, and class structure. Humanity's separation from natural world has produced feelings of loneliness and isolation called basic anxiety. Same ra sila ni Karen Horney na sila basic anxiety. His humanistic psychoanalysis looks at people from a historical and cultural perspective rather than a strictly psychological one. It is more concerned with those characteristics common to a culture. Erich Fromm's biography. Erich Fromm is born in Frankfurt, Germany in 1900, only child of Orthodox Jewish parents. studied law but eventually changed his field of study to sociology at University of Heidelberg. PhD in sociology at age of 22. He joined the Frankfurt Institute for Social Research, later known as the Frankfurt School of Critical Theory. After completing his training at the Berlin Psychoanalytic Institute, he and Frieda from Richmond helped to found the Frankfurt Psychoanalytic Institute. In 1933, fled from Nazis and went to the United States. In 1949, he became a professor of the National Autonomous University of Mexico, where he instituted the Department of Psychoanalysis. He is the founder and director of the Mexican Psychoanalytic Institute. In 1974, Fromm moved to Switzerland, where he died in 1980. Fromm's basic assumptions. Fromm believed that humans have been turned away from their prehistoric union with nature and lived with no powerful instincts to adapt to a changing world. But because humans have acquired the ability to reason, they can think about their isolated conditions, a situation Fromm called the human dilemma. People experience this basic dilemma because they have become separate from nature and yet have the capacity to be aware of themselves as isolated beings. According to Fromm, human has needs. These existential needs have emerged during the evolution of human culture, growing out of their attempts to find answers to their existence. It can only be addressed by fulfilling our uniquely human needs. Fromm identified 5 of these distinctively human and existential needs. First is the relatedness. It drives people to unite with another person through submission, power, and love. Submission is a person can submit to another, to a group, or to an institution in order to become one with the world. Power, a person seeks additional power, and as a result, they become more and more dependent on their partners and bliss of an individual. Love, Fromm defined love as the union with somebody or something outside oneself under the condition of retaining the separatedness and integrity of one's own self. Second is the transcendence. It is the need for people to rise above their passive existence and create or destroy life. Humans can be creative in other ways. They can create art, religion, ideas, laws, materials, production, and love. But we can also transcend life by destroying it and thus rising above our slain victims. Malignant aggression to kill for reason. Third is rootedness. It is the need for a consistent structure in people's lives to feel at home again in the world. Fromm was influenced by Johann Jacob Bachofen's ideas on early matriarchal societies. Bachofen held that the mother was the central figure in this ancient social group. Fourth is the sense of identity. It is the capacity to be aware of ourselves as a separate entity. People were identified by their social roles. The identity of most people still resides in their attachment to others or to institutions such as the nations, religions, occupation, or social group. Fifth is the frame of orientation. It is a consistent way of looking at the world. Summary of Fromm's human need. Relatedness has a negative and positive component. Relativeness negative component is submission and domination, and its positive component is love. Transcendence negative component is destructiveness, and the positive components are creativeness. Rootedness, the negative components of rootedness is fixation. The positive component is wholeness. The negative components of sense of identity are adjustment to a group. The positive components are individuality. The negative components of frame of orientation are irrational goals. The positive components are rational goals. Mechanisms of state. First is the authoritarianism. It is a tendency to give up the independence of one's own individual self and to fuse oneself with somebody or something outside oneself. Masochism, it is a result from basic feelings of powerlessness, weakness, and inferiority, and is aimed at joining the self to a more powerful person or institution. Sadism, more neurotic and more socially harmful. Second is the destructiveness. It is rooted in the feelings of aloneness and isolation and powerlessness. Third is the conformity. People who conform try to escape from the sense of aloneness and isolation by giving up their individuality and becoming whatever other people desire them to. Positive freedom. It is a solution to our human dilemma. It represents overcoming of loneliness, achieving union with the world, and maintain individuality. Character orientations. A person's relatively permanent way of relating to persons and things. Character replaces instinct and assimilation. It is acquisition and use of things. Socialization is relating to self and others. Non-productive orientation strategies that fail to move people closer to positive freedom and self-realization. Not entirely negative, receptive, exploitative, hoarding, and marketing. Receptive is the only way that they can relate to the world is by giving things, more concerned with receiving than giving. Passivity, submissiveness, lack self-confidence and loyalty, acceptance and trust. Exploitative, aggressively take what they desire. Egocentric, conceited, arrogant, seducing, impulsive, proud, charming, and self-confident. Hoarding, hold everything inside and do not let go of anything. Rigidity, sterility, obstinacy, compulsivity, lack of creativity, orderliness, cleanliness, and punctuality. Marketing is dependent on the ability to sell themselves. It is it has personal security rests on shaky ground. There are no permanent principles or values, op- opportunistic and wasteful, open-mindedness, and adaptability. The productive orientation, working, loving, and reasoning. There are personality disorders according to Erich Fromm. People are incapable of love and uniting with others. Necrophilia, malignant narcissism, incestuous symbiosis. Necrophilia is an attraction to death, hates humanity. Destructive behavior is a manifestation of their basic character. Malignant narcissism impedes the perception of reality so that everything belonging to a narcissistic person is valued and everything belonging to another is devalued. Third is the incestuous symbiosis. extreme dependence on the mother or mother surrogate. It may be another person or object. Comparison, syndrome of decay, syndrome of growth. Necrophilia, necrophilia is syndrome of decay of necrophilia. Syndrome of growth is biophilia. Syndrome of decay and narcissism. Syndrome of growth is love. Syndrome of decay and incestuous symbiosis. Syndrome of growth is positive freedom. Psychotherapy. It includes dream analysis, interviews, questionnaires, projective techniques, and psychohistory. Example is social character in a Mexican village. It is a study of social character in an isolated farming village in Mexico. It found evidence of all character orientations except the marketing one. A psychohistorical study of Hitler. It is applied the techniques of psychohistory to study Hitler, the suspicious example of someone with the syndrome of decay. From traces and describes Hitler's necrophilia, malignant narcissism, and incestuous symbiosis. Critic. From's theory is high on organizing knowledge, but low on guiding actions, internal consistency, and parsimony. Very low on generating research and falsifiability. Wrap up. Both Horney and Fromm can be seen as extending Adler's emphasis on social interest and cooperation, or the lack of thereof, and their belief that individuals pursue safety and security to overcome their anxiety is similar to Adler's concept of striving for superiority. Horney insisted that social and cultural influences were more important than biological ones. Children who lacked warmth and affection failed to meet their needs for safety and satisfaction. These feelings of isolation and helplessness trigger basic anxiety or feelings of isolation and helplessness in a potentially hostile world. The inability of people to use different tactics in their relationships with others generates basic conflict, that is, the incompatibility tendency to move toward, against, and away from people. Horney called the tendencies to move toward, against, or away from people the three neurotic trends. Healthy people solve their basic conflict by using three neurotic trends, whereas neurotics compulsively adopt only one of these trends. The three neurotic trends, moving toward, against, or away from people, are a combination of the 10 neurotic trends that Horney had earlier identified. Both healthy and neurotic people experience intrapsychic conflicts that have become part of their belief system. The two major intrapsychic conflicts are the idealized self-image and self-hatred. The idealized self-image results in neurotics attempts to build a godlike picture of themselves, plastic. Second is the self-hatred, is the tendency for neurotics to hate and despise the real self. Any psychological differences between men and women are due to cultural and social expectations and not to biology. The goal of Horney's psychotherapy is to bring about growth toward actualization of the real self. Fromm believes that healthy people rely on some combination of all five character orientations. Their survival as healthy individuals depends on their ability to receive things from other people, to take things when appropriate, to perceive things, to exchange things, and to work, love, and think productively. The abstraction of death, taking pleasure by destroying others, and neural Neurotic symbiosis with mother figures form what is called the syndrome of decay, while biophilia, love and positive freedom comprise the syndrome of growth. He believes that the aim of therapy is for patients to come to know themselves. Focus question. Number one is, what according to Horney's theory describe the emotional context of early life? Second is, how does Fromm's theory help promote a better society and environment? References. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Bye. Have a great day ahead. Thank you.